What's up everyone, Darcblade here with a little bit of a hunter's guide to Monster Hunter Wilds. In this video, we'll be giving you a new build aimed at farming the Dreamspell tickets during the Dreamspell Festival that's going on at the moment. Now this is a limited time build as it won't really function correctly outside of the Dreamspell festivals, but nonetheless this can be used each year in order to maximize the limited time loot that you can get during this Festival of Accord. So let's jump into this. Now this is a universal build, so it can work with pretty much any weapon with minor adjustments. That being said, as it is a universal build, it means it may miss out on a few elements that benefit certain weapons, which we'll explain later. Now, as always, if you find these videos helpful or informative, please consider leaving a like on it, as well as subscribing to the channel, as it not only helps the video in the YouTube algorithm, but also helps my mental health a lot more than I can express. Now, for the demonstration of this build, I'll be showing off the build using a longsword and a bow. The longsword representing most weapons, whilst the bow is representing weapons that rely on stamina. So for this Dreamspell ticket farming build, first of all I've gone for the Dreamwalker helm, the Dreamwalker mail, Dreamwalker braces, and the Dreamwalker coil. I've then gone for the Duna Wild Greaves Gamma, which is the Arch-Tempered Duna Greaves. And then for your charm, now this is down to personal preference in all honesty, I'd recommend going for the Challenger charm if you're using a non-stamina consuming weapon, or failing that, if you are using the bow or dual blades, I'd go for the fitness charm. Of course, if you have access to better charms via the random talisman system, replace these craftable charms with what you have available. As for the weapons, personally I'd recommend taking Artian weapons, as you can customize these to suit your element or elemental needs, with Blast and Paralysis being my personal favourite. So I've gone for a Blast Artian longsword here. And when it comes to your bow or dual blades, the main two stamina based weapons, take a Artian weapon with the element that best counters the monster you're going up against. As for the reinforcement bonuses on your Artian weapons, again this depends on what weapon you are using, so don't stress over it too much. Now as for the decorations, you've got a few to play around with, and some of these are kind of optional in all honesty. When it comes to the decorations on your weapons, you're going to take whatever decoration is best suited for your said weapon. So for example, if you're using a gun lance or charge blade, especially an impact charge blade, you're going to want to take magazine decorations and artillery decorations. If you're using bowguns, you'll want to be taking decorations that help whatever ammunition you are primarily using. So if you're using spread ammo, you'll want a spread decoration. For the most part though, this is where you'll primarily want to take your DPS skills. So expert jaws, attack jaws, critical jaws, or elemental jaws are your best bet here. As for the decorations on the armor, now these are primarily down to personal preference in all honesty. First of all, I've gone for a jumping jaw for a point in evade extender. Next up, I've then gone for a destroyer jaw. This is kind of optional in all honesty, but it gives us a point in the part breaker skill. You can replace this with something else if you wanted to. An extra jumping jaw will give you some extra defensive options if you wish. I've then gone for protection jaws to max out divine blessing, and then a chain jaw for a point in the burst skill. So when it comes to the skills, you'll have the following. Remember, the first few skills will change depending on what weapon you are using, so don't pay too much attention to these. These skills include attack boost at level 3, increasing the raw attack of this build. You'll then have critical eye at level 3, increasing the base affinity of this build, and critical boost at level 3, which allows our attacks to deal extra critical damage whenever we crit a monster, but only applies to the raw portion of an attack, not the elemental or element portion. As for the skills on the armor, first of all you'll have flare at level 4. This is a byproduct of the armor we're wearing and works really well against lower tier monsters, not so well against the higher tier monsters I find. This makes it easier to inflict wounds on monsters and can deal extra non-elemental damage upon build up. This excludes some attacks, so it doesn't work with every move in your arsenal. Basically, it allows us to create more opportunities to perform focus strikes. You'll then have Agitator at level 3 if you're using the Challenger charm. Agitator is a skill, a buff that kicks in whenever a monster becomes enraged. When this happens, it will grant us bonus raw attack and base affinity. However, if you're using one of the stamina based weapons, so dual blades or bow, you would have this replaced with Constitution at level 5, which is a skill that reduces the stamina cost at performing certain actions like firing the bow, dodging, so on and so forth. Next up is Wide Range at level 3. This is a team-based skill, so if you're playing solo, it's not the most useful, but it's built into the armor, so we don't have a choice. This basically allows us to heal our nearby allies when drinking potions and using other items. Next up is Divine Blessing at level 3, which is a universal defensive skill that I love. That gives us a 50% chance at when we take a hit from a monster, it will deal reduced damage to us, helping us stay alive in clutch situations sometimes. Next up we'll have Ambush at level 3, which is a byproduct again of the armor we're wearing, which when we perform a sneak attack, it will temporarily increase our damage to large monsters for a small duration of time. We then have Quick Sheath at level 3, a universal skill that is beneficial for all weapons, especially the longsword, as I'm using in this demonstration, that allows us to sheath our weapon at a quicker rate. You'll then have Sleep Resistance at level 2, which reduces the duration of sleep by 60%. You'll then have Burst at level 3, which is a skill that when we're continuously attacking a monster, an elemental attack and raw attack buff will gradually build up. You'll then have Part Breaker at level 1, which is a skill that makes it easier to break large monster body parts, as well as increasing the damage dealt when destroying wounds with our focus strikes. This works well in unison with Flare. And then finally you'll have Evade Extender at level 1, which is a defensive skill, a quality of life skill, that increases the evade distance when we perform dodges and such, helping us get out of the way of attacks a lot more easily. So those are all the base skills, but one of the main important aspects of this build is the set bonus skill, the Dreamspell Prayer. This is all thanks to the Dreamspell Boon 1 and 2. Basically, during this Dreamspell Halloween festival, special items are added to your quest rewards. This basically means that we can get Dreamspell tickets, Dreamspell vouchers, Dreamspell barrel bombs, and even barrel bomb vouchers added to our loot rewards, giving us a key way of farming those tickets, thus the whole point of this build. Also, for wearing 4 pieces of this armor set, not only do we get the extra rewards, but it will greatly boost our raw attack and defenses when on missions. Whilst this increase to attack and defense isn't exactly the best when it comes to the absolute hardest content this game has to offer, like Savage Omega, it can still help when it comes to farming event quests when we're mainly trying to farm those extra rewards. You also have the Carving Master Festival Spirit group skill, which lets us carve 1 additional time from carcasses during quests, so again it adds to our loot. So there we have it, that is the Dreamspell ticket farming build. A universal build that is good at farming those tickets, vouchers and more during this Halloween event. But of course, all builds out there comes with pros and cons. The biggest pro for this build is the Dreamfest boon that allows us to farm those tickets and get extra rewards from quests. The next pro is the increased raw attack and defenses during this Halloween event, which, whilst like I said, it may not help us take on the absolute hardest quests in the game, it definitely helps with the majority of quests, as a lot of skills are missing from this build otherwise. And the final pro is that this build is interchangeable. It can be used with pretty much any weapon with minimal changes, a few decoration changes here, or a talisman change, and you can use this with pretty much any weapon. But of course there are cons. One of the biggest cons for this build is, unfortunately, like I said, it may struggle when it comes to taking on the absolute hardest difficulty in the game because it does lack certain skills, and the increased attack and defense may not always be enough to counteract that. And the final con is, unfortunately, this build is not really usable outside of the Dreamspell Festival of Accord. But this is a seasonal build, and it's designed to be used during this Halloween event to help us get those extra tickets and loot. So with that, I wish you luck in crafting this build, as well as farming those tickets, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing a quick Hunter's Guide to the Dreamspell ticket farming build. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.